Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel for pretty much daily play-in and then soon to be playoff coverage on this channel. I plan on probably doing a double upload tomorrow as I'm going to do a preview for what is going to be the Pacers versus Celtics game. But yeah, subscribe for that, and I'm going to be doing that for the playoffs. Most of my previews are going to be on the main channel, but I didn't figure a play-in tournament preview is really worth a main channel video, so I'm going to be doing that over here. Also, drop a like on this video. It is much appreciated. Anyways, the title of this video is probably going to be something along the lines of the play-in tournament is day one of the play-in tournament was disappointing. And I don't say this because both of my predictions were wrong, even though that was the case. I predicted the Hornets and the Wizards to win both of these games, and they not only didn't, but lost rather convincingly. But what made it disappointing is that those games did end convincingly. At the end of the day, I was really only specifically rooting for the Hornets heavily here, and that was that was the only one I actually really cared about the result. But either way, I was just looking for a good game, and we didn't get that. The reason why, by the way, I was rooting for a Hornets win is because I wanted to go to a playoff game, and so many people got mad at me when I said that on Twitter, and not even that was a little dramatic. Like 5 people, they were like, "This is because you hate the Wizards," or "This is because you hate the Celtics or the Pacers." By the way, the Pacers are not relevant enough to even hate, but with the Hornets, I live about 2.5 hours away from the arena, so I could have actually gone to a playoff game if they had won this game today, and then the preceding game, or not even the preceding game, or yes, the preceding game, yeah. So if they won that, they could have made the playoffs, and I was rooting for that, so I could go to a playoff game. There was no ill will towards the other teams. I just live near the Hornets. Anyways, so the play-in was disappointing at the first day, and for the most part, no one was really expecting this to be the really good day. Tomorrow, of course, we get that Warriors versus Lakers game, which should be fantastic regardless of result. So, yeah, this is not the day that was expected to be all that crazy, although Celtics-Wizards was expected to probably be a little bit better of a game than it was, and no one really thought the Pacers were just going to completely destroy the Hornets in the way they did. Final score of this one, 117 for the Hornets, 144 for the Pacers. That is a lot of points, and really they poured in those points throughout the entirety of the game. It was not some like, oh, there was a run here and that really got their momentum going. No, they were firing from the very beginning. I think they started the game like 6 for 7 from 3. Doug McDermott was getting multiple threes, a lot of corner threes. This I know his last name is Brissett. I don't remember O'Shea Brissett. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I noticed him in a couple of Pacers games that I watched. I don't know much about him or his background, but he's been good in the time he's played this year, and he was good in this one with 23 points on 10 for 14 shooting. So 3-point shooting was the way they were getting it going at the very start. Then it slowly became just really bad defense in the paint by the Hornets. I'm making a what's next for the Hornets video, and paint defense is something that they should probably address. I looked at the numbers, and they're actually like 12th in paint defense in the league, which was higher than I expected it to be, because when I watch Hornets games, they often are kind of rough in the paint. I don't know if it's an inconsistency thing or what, but so many backdoor passes from Sabonis where, and it's not even entirely like Cody Zeller or Bismack Biyombo's fault, even though very often it was their fault. A lot of the times the wing defender who was guarding like Brissett, for example, or I think even Doug got one. I know Justin Holiday got a backdoor cut off on an inbound. So many of their guys that were defending them did not stick to them. And at that point, it's too late for Cody Zeller or Bismack Biyombo to recover and actually block that shot. That is just completely on the players that didn't defend their men on that one. And speaking of that, like I said, backdoor cuts, things like that. Every time I watch a Pacers game, Sabonis gets like 3-4 assists on backdoor cuts. So I wasn't surprised by that, but just the overall volume was really high in this game. There were multiple inbound plays that resulted in a backdoor cut and an easy basket. I think like 2 to 4. I think there might have been 3 of them. I don't know. After games, a lot of times the specific plays in my head end up blending together, which is why I'm bad at pointing out specifics sometimes, unless something really sticks out in my head. But for the most part, this game was just the Pacers destroyed the Hornets. That's about it. There was some discourse after this one about LaMelo because on the offensive end, he did not play well. And outside of that, actually, pretty much everybody except for maybe Terry Rozier. Yeah, Terry Rozier was a little inefficient and he didn't hit any of his threes. But other than Terry not hitting his threes, LaMelo was kind of the main reason why their offense struggled a little bit. Now, that being said, 117 points actually isn't bad. This ended up being a defensive failing. Like, you're expecting LaMelo to do so well offensively that he can match giving up 144 points, even if in some instances he's partially responsible for giving up those points. I think it was kind of dumb to, first of all, blame so much of this on him. We are talking about a 19-year-old here. I understand some people will be frustrated by that, and I often am. That's like, well, just because he's young does not mean you can't mention his mistakes, which is true, but it seemed like this quickly turned from pointing out a flaw to LaMelo actually sucks and y'all have been overhyping him. And it's one fucking game. And that was very frustrating to me to see all over Twitter and stuff like that. But I'm not going to harp on that too much. Let's move on to Wizards versus Celtics. This was an 18-point win for the Celtics. I also expected the loser of this game to win, as I mentioned earlier. The Wizards lose by 18. Big reason for this was Russell Westbrook's shooting kind of struggled, but Bradley Beal also struggled shooting-wise, and the reason for that is he was clearly dealing with his hamstring injury. We watched this game. He was sometimes grabbing his hamstring, which was kind of scary because it reminded me of Chris Paul doing that same thing. He was not as quick. Some of his moves were kind of awkward when typically Bradley Beal is one of the more smooth scorers in the league. He still was able to get his shot off and score 22 points, but he did that on 40% shooting. A couple of mid-range pull-ups that he was just like, there was just a split-second difference that if he didn't have that hamstring injury, he would have gotten the shot off cleaner, but that was enough of a difference to interrupt multiple of those shots. As for everything else on the Wizard side of things, really there was not too much. Rui Hachimura did good things every time he touched the ball, but he barely touched the ball and really barely played in this one. And I don't know that that's entirely fair, especially because a lot of his minutes ended up going to Davis Bertans, who was a whopping 1 for 8 from the field and 0 for 7 from 3. So it's not like he was doing great with those minutes. Rui is a better defensive player, and offensively he was doing better than what Bertans was in this one. So at the end of the day, Rui probably would have been the better pick there. Not that Scott Brooks is expected to make any level of competent coaching decision. Daniel Gafford ended up getting a majority of the center minutes, but honestly, he should just be getting almost all of them, especially in a game like this. Alex Len played 12 minutes. Robin Lopez played 15. And Robin Lopez was not terrible in the minutes he played. He has a hook shot that he goes to that always seems to work when I see it anyways. But overall, though, Gafford should have gotten more than 20 minutes. Gafford should probably play around 30 minutes, though he does sometimes have a fouling issue, and he did have 4 in this one. I didn't even know he had 4. I just know that he has a fouling issue, so I scrolled over on the box score and I was like, I bet he had a lot of fouls. Yeah, 4 in 20 minutes is not great, but still, that's enough that you should have played him more. But yeah, not as much of a failing on the Wizards' part. Russ had a rough shooting game, which is not shocking. He does that sometimes. And playmaking-wise, 5 assists not the highest for him. But he was also like the guy who was giving the Wizards the most energy and the most effort, which is typical. Often there were times where it seemed like he was the only guy who cared. So Russ, he brings that energy, and he was fine in this game. Just sometimes he does not shoot that well from the field, and this was one of those games. Also, actually, no, I'm not going to shit on Raul Neto for not scoring at all in the starting lineup. He played 17 minutes. It's weird because when you look at the minutes of this one, like, it seems like the bench played nearly as much as the starters because the starting lineup doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense. Raul Neto starting doesn't really make sense. Why is Bradley Beal playing small forward? Honestly, it's not like they were defending him well anyways, so why would you not? Maybe this is a crazy idea, but I feel like maybe you should just put Bertans at small forward. Put Rui on Jaylen Brown, or not Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown did not play in this game because he season-ending injury. But I would have rathered that because Bertans would usually be better than Neto. But granted, Bertans went 0 for 7 from 3. Anyways, that's a tangent. On the Celtics side of things, Tatum went the fuck off, especially in the third quarter. He finishes with 50 in this one. It felt like he scored 30 of those points in the third quarter. I think it ended up being less than 20, but the way he was doing it, 3-pointers, he had a fadeaway over 2 defenders, although Daniel Gafford kind of pulled out by the time that Tatum was actually shooting the ball over Bradley Beal, and that one bounced in. He just had all kinds of confidence, and it was gorgeous. And then to really seal this game at the end, it was Kemba Walker. He hit 2 big threes as the Wizards got the lead a little bit less secure, but Kemba made sure to close that one out. There were some injury scares in this one as well. Both Robert Williams as well as Marcus Smart had injuries and non-contact injuries that were concerning, but they both ended up getting back on the floor, so I guess they were fine. Although Robert Williams only played 14 minutes and Tristan Thompson played 30. I don't know if that was the decision based on the fact that Thompson was playing really well in this game or because Robert had that injury. I don't know. Obviously ended up not mattering one way or the other. But yeah, outside of that, it was really just the Tatum show and Kemba closing well. He didn't have the greatest efficiency in the world, but for me, I looked at his field goal percentage and it really felt like he was playing better than that. And I'm going to just give him that credit that at least when it mattered, I saw Kemba do the right things. He had one closeout he attacked gorgeously with 2 seconds left, or I think this was in the second quarter, something like that. But yeah, Tristan Thompson played well off the bench. Aaron Nesmith made a really great defensive play on Garrison Matthews, who was trying to get open in the corner, and Aaron swatted that, got the ball, and immediately passed it. That was definitely nice, and I felt like pointing it out. But yeah, outside of Tatum dropping 50, which is obviously fun to watch, there wasn't much enjoyment factor in either of these games. And it's just because it's not fun to watch what is pretty much a blowout. There was good sections of this Wizards Celtics game that were close. That was pretty much up until about the third quarter when Jason Tatum decided to catch on fire, and that was pretty much all she wrote. Even though, like I said, the Wizards did make a bit of a push at some points, but it was handled. But the Hornets-Pacers game was just a blowout from the first 5 minutes of the game, which is not a great thing to watch. I expect that to be better tomorrow. I think the Lakers-Warriors game should be really good. If it isn't, that will suck. So far, I'm 0 for 2 on play-in predictions. As for, I'm going to make a video on this, but as for my prediction about Celtics versus Pacers, I'm probably going to lean Celtics on this one. But then again, I didn't believe in the Pacers at all, and they immediately dropped 144 points. So take that with a grain of salt if you want. Anyways, video will be on this channel tomorrow about that play-in matchup. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.